Hey, welcome to Quick Story. My name is Joddie Taylor. For each podcast episode, I am going to be sharing, you guessed it, a quick story that is 10 minutes or less. I hope that you get a laugh or insight or learn something new. I would just love for you to get something you need from each podcast episode. Okay, are you ready? Let's get into it. Quick story. I love quotes. I tend to remember them. I'm going to share 3 quotes with you that resonated with me and that I just remembered from the moment I saw them. And I think it's been, with the exception of one, it's been several years since I first came across these quotes. So a little disclaimer. As far as I know, thank you, Google, because I just Googled before I hit record. As far as I know, the folks who I'm attributing these quotes to actually said these things. I might be misquoting, and if that happens, that is not intentional. I say that because I know I've thought that I knew who said a quote, only to find out later it wasn't that person. Or I thought I knew what the quote was, only to find that it was worded differently. So I just wanted to say that up front. So let's get into the quotes. First one, may the bridges I burn light the way. I actually, until a few minutes ago, thought this was anonymous. I don't even remember where I heard it, and I was like, sure, I'm going to Google it just to check, but I'm sure it's anonymous. Nope. Do you know who said this? Dylan McKay, Luke Perry of 90210 fame. There's an episode where he said this. I actually just watched it on YouTube. Who knew? May the bridges I burn light the way. On a personal note, I burn bridges when needed. Do I think it's a communication tactic, a way to deal with things every single time? Absolutely not, which is why I added the when needed. The good thing about bridges is they serve a purpose, right? You want to make a connection. This is my way of saying there may come a time when I or you burn a bridge and then you decide to rebuild it, and that's okay too. Make the decision that makes sense to you at the time, whatever is going to help you take care of yourself. That is not a suggestion, but it was worded as one. That's what I would do. Let me put it that way. Next up, we have a quote from Mother Teresa. I read this quote years ago and it absolutely warmed my heart. And one of the first thoughts I had, and I've never done it, but I feel like this quote should be stitched on a pillow and like given at baby showers. And here is the quote. Try to put in the hearts of your children a love for home. Make them long to be with their families. So much sin could be avoided if our people really loved their homes. Mother Teresa. I read that and it was like being hit by lightning. I thought this is like in just a few sentences, it's so meaningful and so simple and so profound. Asterix, please see below. I'm not saying raising children is easy. They don't come with instructions, right? If you're listening to this, you're someone's child, I'm someone's child. I did not come with instructions. But I think this is a great guiding light. I really love this quote, and so I wanted to share it. Okay, I have one more quote. This quote I just heard, it hasn't even been 3 months, and I'll tell you what, it changed my life. My friend shared this quote with me a few months ago, and it really affected my interactions moving forward. This is kind of tied into burning bridges, but the opposite. So the quote is, I do not like that man. I must get to know him better. Abraham Lincoln. This completely changed my perspective. I never thought of it that way. And I am telling you, literally the next day after hearing this quote, I had an interaction with someone on an airplane. And I was like, I don't think that person likes me. I feel like I'm being mistreated here. the person worked for the airline. And the quote came back to me, and I said it to myself. And a few minutes later, it was almost like a miracle, he was like a different person. And I was like, oh, it's because I took the time. Like, who knows what was going on with him? Maybe he was having a bad day. I was already having a long travel day myself. But just thinking about that quote and getting out of my head, I was like, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I need to get to know him better. Maybe I need to give him some grace. And again, no sooner did these thoughts go through my mind, I just had a different experience with him, and it was fine. It was better than fine the rest of the flight. So those are the 3 quotes that I wanted to share. I have many more, but these 3 in particular I wanted to share. I just felt moved to share them. And they are quotes that I keep in mind, that with the exception of the last one from Abraham Lincoln, have just been in my mind, on my mind and in my heart for years. And Abraham Lincoln, this quote will be with me likely the rest of my life, because I think it informs how I can better interact with folks. So that's it. Those are the 3 quotes. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Quick Story with me, Joddie Taylor. I would love to connect. Do you have any questions for me? Would you like to say hello or perhaps leave a comment on this episode or any other episode? Yes? If so, please shoot me an email at joddie@snackysays.com. That's JODDIE@snackysays.com. You can also visit me online at joddie.substack.com. Both my email address and Substack information will be in the show notes, where you'll also find any resources mentioned during this episode. The last thing I want to leave you with is, you have a story to tell. I hope you're telling it. Tell your story today.